Okay, folks, here we go.
Guys, here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by. Okay,
Yeah.
Yacht,
Yeah,
take it.
take it at midfield.
Take
Just go
seven,
right now.
opposite up,
Go to
good.
camera
One.
3.
Can
3.
you
Go to the
Thank
perfect,
you.
just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, graphics 2 is going to be up for the perfect.
Okay.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go, yep.
Can you
Go to the perfect, just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q, Sophie.
Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. 2.5.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10,
Couple minutes.
9, 8, 7, 6,
5,
4,
3, 2,
1,
and
and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
All right, guys, here we are. It is 8 o'clock Eastern time. It is 5 o'clock Pacific time out west, Ricky. And it is, of course, 8 o'clock in the Canal Zone. It's happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. Happy Friday, man.
Happy Friday to you, Willie, man. It is a great Friday. It's starting to get colder out here. We had a great week last week, nice and warm, but we're back to cold. But anyway, thank you for tuning in with us, guys. Every Friday, as you know, Willie and I, both born and raised in the Canal Zone, and bring you every week. We bring you this podcast, which is completely dedicated to the Panama Canal. You know, it's a weekly podcast that is solely about the history of the Panama Canal, its rich traditions, and of course, more important, the people that are from there, aka Zonians. This is a show where you come and you get to meet us, get to know what we're up to, what we've done. This is the place where everybody knows your name. Welcome, welcome. And let's get this show started, Willie, because we have an informative show for you guys tonight.
Oh, we do indeed. But of
We
course,
do
we got to
indeed.
start. We're at the bar, so nothing more than a toast to good friends, to the Canal Zone, and to all things Zonian.
All things Zonians.
Mhm. So hello, yes, and there we go here. Who do we have? Jim Duffus is ready. Yep, you're ready. Right on, brother. Good to see you. Chris is where? Chris is not in the frozen tundra of Kentucky, Cincinnati, or however he likes to call it. He is in PR. Look at that. Beautiful
Puerto
PR.
Rico.
Right on. That's certainly
Speaking of
warmer
Puerto
there.
Rico, there's one of the boxers in big trouble out there. Hope he can
Uh-oh.
work through that.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's it. And then we got from Fort Clayton right on. There we go. Mr. Gibbs from Fort Clayton. All right. Woohoo. We got Frank coming in. Yeah, let's do it, man. We got a great show, guys. No, honestly, we really do. There's, a lot going on, of course, in Panama and then in the zone. This show, of course, is taking that direction this year, especially. We want to really focus on the nostalgia, the history of the zone, life in the zone, growing up in the zone. So we've got a new segment we're going to roll out tonight. There's a publication that used to come out all the time called the Panama Canal Review. Very iconic. The logo on it, you'll recognize it if you haven't already seen it. It'll pop up here shortly. But it really was I guess it would be the equivalent of Life magazine, but for the Canal Zone, right?
Yeah, what I remember is the Spillway was more like a social magazine.
Well, the
But
Spillway was a newspaper.
Like a newspaper, right? That you can go through the pages. But
Right.
the review, I remember, I used to have to sit down, open it, and read it because it was,
Yes.
it was a very, like our show tonight, very informative
Correct.
magazine because that's what
It was good reading. It definitely
Good
was.
reading.
Yeah, it definitely was, and it was a good quality publication, and it'd been around since 1950.
Right
So
on.
there, and of course, like a lot of things, the Panama Canal Museum collection in Gainesville,
yeah.
at University of
Gainesville.
Florida. Yeah, in Gainesville here in the States, they have, of course, all these digitized collections, and that's one of them they have is the review, the Pan Canal Review, and it's an amazing magazine. They digitize it all, great quality. So what we're gonna do is go through these episodes and just check out some of the things there, see what the perception was, what the story was of the Canal Zone back in those days, how they viewed things, and so it'd just be a fun way of doing things. HP, how you doing, brother? Happy Friday to you, man.
Happy Friday.
So that's going to be exciting. And speaking of, while I was doing research on that, without digressing too much, I also found some old annual reports from the canal going all the way back to like 1905, and they're just absolutely
Wait. What kind of
fascinating.
reports?
Just reports of everything going on. They had something called the Canal Record, which was a weekly publication, and I mean, they talked about everything. If you like history and you certainly love Canals on History, which a lot of us here do,
Yes.
it's a great read. But
It's gonna
what
be a good
treasure
segment,
trove.
Willie.
So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're also gonna talk about. We're gonna piggyback off of something that Dave Dahlstrom brought up when he was talking last week about that those third locks, right? And what we used to think was the French Cut, and it turns out that the French Cut was actually an area on the Atlantic side, and what we used to go to, the slide and all that area, was actually those third locks, or the attempt to build those locks, which now we know, of course, is the locks, but back then it wasn't. And the conversation part of it was talking about these third locks were going to be a sea level canal. And so the interesting part about the sea level canal was that, how's that going to work? Because as we know, Atlantic side, certainly it's fairly even, the tides there, but on the Pacific side, there's a 20-foot difference.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. Correct.
And so, we were curious about that. A lot of people were asking about that after the show. Certainly, a bunch of people came back and said, "Hey, find out from Dave what the story is on the sea level canal." Well, we didn't want to wait, so we went ahead and started doing some digging of our own. And so we're going to show you guys how they were going to do this sea level canal, because it is something that was doable. And interesting that they didn't go that route with the new set of locks, but nonetheless, it's an interesting plan there. So we'll definitely talk about that here. And then we also are going to have our friend Ralph Furlong is joining us. A lot of news about this new. They had this new bridge, which is something we talk about a lot. And we seem to bunch together the bridge and the tunnel underneath, right? And the metro, but those are two separate projects. And so Ralph's going to join us to talk about the metro, because there's some big news about that metro this week that should be really exciting when it comes to eventually, maybe not having to drive to go to Coronado. I mean, it's this is what they're working on. Panama is really changing the way they move you around the country. So there's some really cool news in the works there. So anyhow, let's say hello to a few people and move right along here. Mark, good to see you. Happy Friday. Yes, happy Friday indeed, brother. Cheers to you. And we got to talk, chat with Mark about doing a surfing song. We talked about it the other day, because I really, that still stayed in my mind, with working on that surfing show with Ted Henter and a couple other people. I think it'll be cool to have a tune with some surfing.
Yeah,
so
Mark Cicero tune for that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Jim and Diane, good to see you guys. Been watching the Winter Olympics. I have. It's been, what I've been watching, and I still want to do this for 2030. Okay, the 2030 Winter Olympics are in the French Alps. Okay, so shouldn't be too difficult to get there. But
a curling team.
I do want to do a curling team. I'm telling you, man, we can win that game.
Yeah, I think you and I can do. Yeah, Balboa Yacht Club team. Yes.
Listen, I was in the Navy, man. I know how to sweep a damn floor, okay, and swab a deck and all that shit. I can do that stuff, man. And that's what these guys do out there. There's a little art to what they're.
Why can't Panama have a team? Absolutely, man. We
remember the Jamaican bobsled team. And listen. Speaking of, I saw where a Haitian won, or didn't win, but finished, fairly highly in the cross country skiing. Go figure that one out, right? So, yeah, absolutely, we can have a Panamanian curling team out there and do all that stuff. Jim, Jim was mentioning to me the other day, and if you get a chance, Jim, send me the information on it. But in November of this year, here in Tampa, there's going to be a Zonian, a golf tournament, a fundraising golf tournament that Jim mentioned to me, and I definitely want to attend that. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you don't mind, post the information on there and send me more information, and we can talk about it. There's a lot of Zonian golfers here in the Bay Area. We can definitely get a bunch of people to that tournament. So that should be a lot of fun.
There was just a huge golf tournament, Zonian golf tournament in Panama last week.
Yes, there was.
The Super Bowl.
There
when
sure was.
Ralphie gets in, we can talk about it with you.
Yeah,
He
Mark Mirup,
participated in that
I think
show.
Mark Mirup won it.
I think Mark Mirup
and
won it. That is
his
correct.
group. But yeah, that's a big outing. You know, it's interesting that in January there's a lot of big functions. That, you know, there's the Canal Zone reunion. You have the Ocean to Ocean motocross race with Jerry Curtis and his outfit, and then you have this golf tournament as well. They're not all. They're kind of almost stacked. You know, but yeah, nonetheless, that should be a good time. But Jim, let me know about that for sure, or just post it in the chat here. Information, we can put it out there. And Ralphie
Oh, yeah,
is
and the
definitely
tree
Mr.
burn
Safety.
too. Don't forget the tree burn. That also
Yeah.
happens in January.
You know, we got to get a hold of Dave Smith. Has been talking about. Apparently, he has a lot of footage of the tree burn that he's going to work on putting together. So maybe we'll get him to join us and throw that out there. Hey, Brenner, how you doing, man? Speaking of Brenner Gibbs, what a great time for you to chime in, my friend. Okay, Brenner Gibbs. If you guys recall, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, we had a couple of the members of the Gibbs family on to talk about their exploits when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Well, lo and behold, guys, they're going in March to Panama because there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu national championship in Panama, and they're going to go and participate in that. All three of them, both the kids, Stone, Brenner, and Warren. Dad. Speaking of Warren, happy birthday! He was celebrated a birthday a couple of days ago. But Jeff, definitely check these guys out. You know, look them up online. Brenner, if you want, throw something in the chat there. Oh, hold on, they're already throwing some stuff in the chat. They beat me to it. It's Warren Gibbs' birthday. That's right. Today's his birthday, as a matter of fact. Right on. So happy birthday to you, man. Feliz cumpleaños, papa. There you go. Cheers to you, brother. Salute. Okay, the poster of the fight to win next weekend at the Embassy Suites, mostly in the U.S. That's the fight that the kids are invited to personally to fight another kid. Example. I saw that, but I don't know. I went back to pull it up, and it I don't know if it got taken down or what. But if you don't mind, share it again, and I'll definitely throw it up here because they've got something going on here in Tampa as well. But yeah, this is exciting, man. They're going to fight overseas now as well, man, and you know, get that
representing. They're the only Panamanians in that sport representing. Well, they're going to be in Panama, so they're going to meet a bunch of new guys down there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good time for these guys, man. I'm excited for them. We definitely want to stay tuned on that and so forth. But you know, let's the poster of the fight to win next weekend. Yeah. So I gotta find it. I went to pull it up here and it said not available or something. So I don't know how, some way, shape, or form it. You know, YouTube does that funky thing every so often. It seems to want to fall off or something, but send it through and we'll definitely put it up and promote that for you. Yeah. A couple other things I want to talk about, but you know, we can't announce things like that unless we have the proper announcement music for that, you know?
SCN Television presents K Pasa. And now here's this evening's host, Army Sergeant Bob Foster.
Good evening and welcome to K Plaza. We've got two guests tonight. First Sergeant First Class Jim Webb. Sergeant Webb is with the 227th Military Police Detachment. He's the kennel master.
Oh, so there you go. Now we got that K-Pasa news. So yeah, a couple of things real quick that are going on. K-Pasa, what is going on? The Pan Canal Society. Remember, guys, we are now moved past Canal Zone Reunion Panama. It is now all about the Canal Zone Reunion in Orlando, which the Pan Canal Society puts on, and an amazing job they do with that. But a couple of quick announcements for these guys. Coming up here in February, and I can't even see the screen myself there, but looks like the 27th of February, they have, and I'll miss a little larger here. Okay, so on the East Coast, in the Space Coast, they have the membership meeting and Space Coast potluck. Okay, that's a kind of a weekend activity. So Friday night, then at 5:30 until question mark in typical Zonian fashion, they've got a happy hour at the Beach Tiki Hut Bar on the beautiful property at the Hilton Cocoa Beach oceanfront. So there you go. It's 1550 North Atlantic Avenue in Cocoa Beach. Just look it up, the Hilton Cocoa Beach oceanfront on the 27th. Okay, that's Friday. And then on Saturday, the 28th, the general membership meeting and Space Coast potluck at the VFW 10131 105th Long Point Road. That's quite the mouthful of an address there, but it's in Cape Canaveral. Again, guys, go to pancanalsociety.org and you can see all the information there. Look up their events and stuff. But that's going on here in a couple of weeks, right? Because the 14th is tomorrow. Speaking of, don't forget, guys, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. If you don't remember, don't
get your flowers and your chocolates.
That's right. Happy wife, happy life, right? So But nonetheless, you got 2 weeks to get out to this one here. Also on the 28th, that same, the potluck is going on. The meeting begins at 11:45, and then there's a potluck, a 50-50 raffle. Man, you might get your weekend paid for. Go to the beach out in Cocoa Beach, right? And then from 2:45 till 5 o'clock, PCS members, Pan Canal Society members, are welcomed to join in the festivities. Show Me the Money. It's a card game that starts at the same VFW. Bring cash money to play. There's an ATM conveniently at the VFW, so if you forget to bring your cash there, but if you want to hang out and do that from 2:45 to 5 p.m. So looks like there's a really cool activity on the 27th, guys, and the 28th out on the East Coast, on the Space Coast there for the Pan Canal Society. And again, guys, don't forget, get yourself registered for the Pan Canal Society. These guys do a wonderful job. You're talking $60 for the year. That's a buck and change a week, man. That's less than a cup of coffee, guys.
The most important organization for the Zonians out there, period. I mean, they really have kept this together for many, many decades. So let's
100%.
make sure that keeps going. Hey, Rich, long time no see, my good friend.
Yeah, good to see you. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, amigo.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, it's a buck and change a week. Okay, you drive through a McDonald's, man. You can't hardly get that food now for that kind of money, right? And you're getting a great publication 4 or 5 times a year, that the Canal Record, which is
The Canal Record, yes.
really great publication. And of course, you get access to the reunion in Orlando and all the great events that are going on there.
Plus
Right?
the
So
discount.
the discounts. Listen, the discounts alone. Okay, you spend 2 nights of dinner. The discounts at a restaurant at that hotel for dinner will pay for your membership for the entire year. Okay,
That's so very true. That is true. You
I
get
mean,
at least $20 taken off the bill.
for sure,
with,
man. You
with
have a
the
couple
Canal.
of drinks and a steak for dinner, and do that 2 nights in a row, and you get that discount from the society. That is paid for
25%?
your membership for the entire year. It's a
Absolutely.
no-brainer, guys. And again, like Ricky says, these guys do so much for us as Zonians to help keep this Zonian story and memory alive. So it's an easy way to say thank you and return the favor. And speaking of returning the favor, like I mentioned earlier, the Pan Canal Museum collection in Gainesville at the University of Florida. They've got in March coming up. They also have a luncheon there and a membership drive. Make sure you get signed up for that one ahead of time. Get reserved there. Again, a great cause. These guys, I mean, they go out of their way to preserve that legacy. And the guys that do this, they're not even Zonians. That's the best part about it. I mean, they really have this passion. I don't know if you guys have met them or not, but they're just great. This is a great organization. So if you're in Florida and you can make it there, definitely make it a point to try and show up. If not, send them a donation anyway. They could use the help. It really is the place where, I mean, you find things that, let me tell you what, if you walk around just at the reunion, you walk around in that museum room, man, there's at least a half dozen times that you're like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. When you see something there that's just so nostalgic, and it was so Canal Zone, and it's never seen anywhere else. And, it's been 40, 50 years for some people, and you forget about that. You see that there, you're like, wow. And that's what these guys are doing there. They're protecting that stuff for you. It's well worth it.
Now that we're on announcements, Willie, and things that are Zonian, a lot of people have been traveling to Panama. A lot of my good friends, for example, John Canzero was just down there. Jerry Curtis was just down there. Ralphie is just down there. So I always talk to these guys. Hey, what's new? What this and that, and that they said, look, Ricky, everything is like you think it is. Nothing has really, nothing new. But he goes, I'm going to tell you one thing, Ricky, John Canzero, that you are going to be amazed by it. And this is for everybody to know, is go to the Balboa High School library, and the books and the presentation and the maps and the pictures they have there are worth the trip to Panama.
Okay, right on.
He says that is the most amazing collection of Zonians that he's ever seen. And John Canzero is a very, very talented man. He knows what he's doing. And that's what he reported. Yeah. So everybody that has a chance down there, go check out. And you have a chance to go see our high school. But the library, he says, is top-notch, worth talking about it and visiting.
Yeah, no, and from what I've been told like last year, for example, the class of '84, or the
Mhm.
year before, I guess it was, when they went for their reunion there. They actually had a tour of the library, and they said it is exactly as it was in
Yeah.
1984.
Yeah. You
It's
can't check anything out though.
unchanged. No, it's a
You can
museum.
look at everything, but nothing's leaving that place.
Exactly. It is a museum there, but it just, I mean, that was, for I always have been kind of a book nerd and all that stuff in spite of my academic record. But I love spending time in the library. If there was ever a place that if I didn't feel good or something, and I mean the nurses were always really cool at BHS, and I never
Yeah.
gave them a hard time. So
If my mom was to believe my story, she thought I'd be at the library all the time.
No, listen, I would go there to read stuff, man. There was some good reading there, some interesting stuff there. It's a really, really, that's something. Going back to that Canal record we were talking about, and I started putting some stories in there. And with that Notebook LM, you can create these audio presentations,
Mhm.
and they take these two voices and they just go back and forth like a podcast, very natural sounding with whatever information you threw in there. And one of them they talked about was how much the Canal Zone, even early on, considered books an important thing, because back then, remember, there was no internet, there was no TV, there was, even radio. You might have had a radio, but guess what? You need a radio station broadcasting for you to listen to anything. So there wasn't a lot of radio stations in Panama at the time. So what did you have for entertainment early on was books to read. And the Zone
And
made it a
Wolfman
point.
Jack. Don't forget
Well,
Wolfman
you're
Jack.
talking 1905. I'm talking 1906. These guys here, the Zone. One of the first things they did was build a robust book collection, because that's always been a big deal. Remember the library over at where the driver license place was, in the drive-in.
Oh yeah,
What a
that's
great
the one that
library
I
that was.
went to most.
Yeah, it was a great
And the
great
college
place, man.
library. Even as a kid, I would go to the college library.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
You
anyway,
guys
yeah,
remember the college library? They always would let you check out music tapes, and they had the coolest earphones. I remember that was why I would go there to that
Yeah.
library as a kid, was to go listen to music.
you did. That's true. That was something that was, before the internet, man. None of that stuff was available, free. You had to know somebody or go somewhere to get it if you didn't have it yourself.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. All right. Well, what else we got going on the Bochincha news?
That's it. Well, I know you got some Panama stuff there, and of course we got.
Well, yeah, I
Ralph
got
on
some good.
standby
I
as
still got
well,
a good. I had a good visit this week with Captain Andrew F. Tomitis. Came by San Francisco. He stopped. He flew in on a Wednesday, and then we hung out Wednesday night. Went to a jazz night, and then Thursday morning he took off to go skiing with his wife Thursday and Friday, and then he came back. And then I met him actually in Sonoma. This guy had an incredible trip.
Yeah.
Then I met him in Sonoma to meet up with Mark Anderson from ILM, and he went on a wine tasting. I didn't do the wine tasting. Then on Sunday he came to San Francisco, and we hung out for the Super Bowl.
Yes, I saw that.
And we had food and drinks and good conversations there at the house. And then afterwards we took off to a district here called North Beach, which is the Italian neighborhood. And there, I took him to this old saloon blues bar that he really liked. I mean old, it's old. And, of course, we went to the classic Tony's Pizza. So it was a good visit from a Zonian out here in San Francisco. We don't really get many of you guys out here. But it was good to see him. And that's what we got. Like I said, Jerry Curtis is now a homeowner now in Panama. In the
congratulations
Canal Zone.
to you, Jerry. Salute, man.
Salute, yeah. He owns again in the Canal Zone. So we'll be visiting your house, Jerry.
We're in Cardenas, wasn't it?
In Cardenas, yes.
Yeah,
That's kind of like
that's
the Zonian
Yes.
enclave out there. A lot of Zonians live in that little in Cardenas.
That's a good way of putting it. It is like an enclave. It really is.
It really is.
That's good. Look at Pat putting in a college library, use their cassette so you can, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I would go there. I remember like 8th, 9th, 10th grade when I was first getting into rock and roll. That's where I would go listen to stuff.
Yeah, my family was not a big music family, so we didn't have like stereos and stuff at my house. I remember as a kid,
wait. Your parents did, and then they had kids, and they got rid of them, because that's what happened with my sister and I. When we were babies, my parents had the greatest music console. Remember the big one that was like a piece of furniture?
That. You might be right.
But Lourdes and I destroyed it, so then my parents were like, "Forget stereos."
Right. And back then, it wasn't cheap to replace like nowadays. It wasn't.
Yeah, right. So that's probably what happened.
Not disposable. Yeah, maybe so, but I remember we'd have to go to somebody's house to Like remember the
Yes.
Hearst, they down the street, they always had a cool stereo and stuff. So
Cool stereo,
make
yeah.
your mixtapes. That was
Klingons.
it. The mixtapes were bad, man. That was
Yeah. That's the
you know.
reason why I went to that college library. Well, guys, you know what? Like always, what's been on the news a lot? The ports. And every day there's new stuff coming out. So like I said, we're going to keep you informed. Right. So you already know, the ruling came out against China, all that good stuff. So now it's
basically to recap that, in case somebody is not familiar, the
All right.
Supreme Court in Panama ruled that the deals that were made way back when to allow this Chinese company, was considered a Hong Kong company then, but now we've obviously found out that it's a Chinese company, HK Holdings, which was Hutchinson Whampoa back in the day. They basically came in and had no bid contracts. Nobody asked anything, just said, oh yeah, it's yours. And so long story short, the fast forward to several weeks ago, and the Supreme Court in Panama said, hey, null and void contracts, illegal. You don't have the rights to these ports. So, Ricky, where are we at now with that?
All right. So then, of course, the shock came through. Now, China has to retaliate, right? Or I don't know if there's a better word, but they have to answer this court ruling. So first, of course, they said, we're really upset about this, trying to figure out what they're going to do. And the first thing out there was, we're not going to do any more government contracts for Panama or loan on money or Belt Road Initiative. And Panama's like, oh, okay, fine.
Really?
We don't have any, so to speak, that we know of that are big, right? Other than the bridge and the tunnel. So then China thought, well, that really didn't go that well. There wasn't much of a like, oh my God, they're gonna. And they also talked about changing the routes, but then again, where they're gonna go around Argentina. So they
knock yourself out.
Right. So they're kind of like, well, there's not much we can do to Panama. So they decided this, like yesterday or the day before, that instead of going after Panama, they're going to go after the company that's going to temporarily run operations of the ports.
Right.
Which is Merck. They're going to go after them.
Maersk.
So
I found it ironic today that there was, in one of the news articles today, it had the headline that China is considering legal action against Maersk, and the picture was a ship it was shot from above the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, the Bridge of the Americas, looking out so you could see the yacht club in front of you in the causeway, and this big giant container ship, and it just happened to be a ship going to Taiwan. So I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but that was
no. It is kind of on purpose, because we do have a little segment here on that. Willie, about a month ago or 2 months ago, we informed you that there was about 10 assemblymen in Panama, which are like congressmen. They went to Taiwan, and it was a big deal, right? Because China doesn't like anybody going there, especially if you have a relations with China. Not
it's all about optics.
Which is what Panama said. There are 10 guys out there anyways. So the president was like, "Hey, that's that's Congress. That's out of my league, and there's nothing I can say about it." Well, Willie, and then all this happens again, and guess what? Another different 10 went to Taiwan again.
Oh, round two.
Kind of like to show China, okay, you want to blackball us? We'll just move right into where we were before. And of course, everything with Taiwan has to do with the chips, making technology. So at the end of the day, win all around. I mean, in business sectors, they do say that this Supreme Court ruling could affect long-term Panama on the ports. But I mean, where is traffic gonna go? I mean, they're not. If they build another canal, it's going to take years.
At the end of the day, these companies in China, as much as they don't like it, they can't afford to ship their goods in a different direction.
That's what I'm saying.
It's understood that that's the way it's going to be, and they don't like it. They're going to bitch and moan, but hey, sorry.
Sorry, the canal.
To me, what's going to be interesting is when they want to start getting some of that bribe money back. That's where the shit's going to hit the fan.
Oh, they're not going to get that money back. But that's what's going on with the ports, guys. So that's big news. We'll keep you up to date on that. Something that's been interesting, how, again, here on the show, we talked to you about nuclear energy in the Canal Zone. Well, Panama just had this big economic forum of Latin American and Caribbean states, in Panama, to talk about big projects, right? This is a big deal. So the CAF, which is a development bank, an American development bank, put together this forum, And they're talking now about nuclear energy in Panama, bringing nuclear energy because of all the needs. Remember Panama's not only becoming a logistics for airplanes and Mercosur, but also for technology. A lot of like underwater cables come through here, and big servers are going through there. And Elon Musk has a big station there for his satellite. So Panama's going to require a lot more electricity than it get produced right now, and so nuclear energy might be coming to Panama. And it's funny that I posted. When I saw this news online, I posted that, hey, the Canal Zone already had nuclear energy. Oh, my God, everybody's calling me a liar, a BS. I'm like, okay, well, look it up, man. We'll even talk about it on the show. Yeah, so, all right, moving on. Corruption news. As we informed you last week, the vice president was taken. Now, why is this corruption news important? Two reasons. One is Panama. The rankings for corruption came out in Panama again. This horrible 116th out of 182 countries. So that's nothing to be proud of. But so the president's really upset, and he's trying to change things. And one of the reasons why we're so bad is not only just of the past corruption, is our assembly refuses to pass anti-corruption laws. Right, because they're protecting themselves. So that's one of the reasons why we're so far back on the ranking. So what happened this week, guys? After last week, they got trying to improve our images. They got the vice president last week for all his corruption deals. This week they went and got a mayor of a big city from Arrayán. This guy by the name of Rollins Rodriguez also, got caught with the hand in the cookie jar. So Panama is making a big effort to improve on his corruption, but still 116 out of 182. We got a long way to go. All right, so anti-corruption news. ACP, a.k.a. Canal Zone government, the new Canal Zone government. Willie, 2 years ago when we started this show, we used to always say that administrator was lame. We never heard of him. Only thing we heard is that he was involved with this deal, that deal, And, man, in 2 years, he has turned it around. This is the biggest news that came out this week. The ACP, now, all canal operation and money used will be 100% transparent.
Right.
You will now have access to where every single penny is used in the Panama Canal, and the money that is given to the government, at the end of the year, that money too is going to be completely transparent, so nobody can steal it. So that is incredible news, and a cheers to our administrator. He's doing a good job, man. I mean, and I was one of his biggest haters. Now I gotta say,
you were definitely a critic of his, for sure.
A big critic, but I'll tell you what, he has turned it around.
No, and kudos, man. That's listen, it's always easy to call somebody out, but at the same time, when they turn around and do it the right thing, then you call them back out on the flip side.
You know what, Willie, and my personal opinion is they must be looking at how the Canal Zone government operated and are now using all the positives from that experience and implementing it in the Panamanian experience.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin.
What's
so
up, Kevin?
I see it in many things that they call out recently. Like, for example, hiring the top high school students, something that Canal Zone government always did. Now they're doing that as well. So cheers to those guys, man. They're doing a good job, and the Canal Zone, right on. I mean, the Panama Canal, right on, guys. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. What else we got here? We got a little bit of embassy news as well. As you know, we love to tell you about the embassy because we share that Estamos Unidos, saying that we both use. We informed you guys a couple of months ago that there was a new program with the embassy and Southcom where they were bringing in doctors to two major hospitals and doing these doctors that would come in would do 300 surgeries, and then they would rotate and bring in another doctor, another group, 300 surgeries, etc., like that. Well, they just finished the first group. Now they're doing a second group, but instead of 2 hospitals, now it's 4 hospitals. So Arrayán, Santo Tomás are the originals. now one San Miguelito and one in Los Santos. And the one in San Miguelito, they actually just recently finished 50 eye restorations.
Wow.
Big major operations again between the embassy, free of charge for the needy class. And so that's really great news coming out of the embassy. And you know what, Willie? That ambassador is really good. He truly is out there doing everything he can to
From
to promote.
day one, man.
Yeah, to promote Estamos Unidos. We are united, and a lot of things are happening. Like
Figure out.
right on. Yeah. Hey, thank you. Like they have a big thing coming up in Casco Viejo where they're gonna have bands and like cultural events going on between the two countries. Always showing how we've been, how we've grown together. Like
Really
we've been together for all
rekindling
these years.
this relationship, man.
Right. Yeah. Let's go back to who we were. So kudos to our ambassador who's doing a phenomenal job. And what else do we got here? Porch Monument. The monument. Of course, we got to inform you of the monument because this is just every week it's something new. First got torn down, then the Chinese got upset. The Chinese community got upset. Right. Then the president stepped in to said he was going to rebuild it and make everybody happy. And then the mayor said, no, it's our property. And then the government said, no, it's their property. And then China files a lawsuit against us. No more monument.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Overnight.
It's cleaned out. Some of my friends have been down there taking pictures, and there's just nothing there. It's been flattened out.
They cleaned it out, man. They didn't play
so
around.
Maybe the mayor will win at the end of the day. And we will keep you guys informed on that monument because truly it's an incredible position. I mean, I understand why the Chinese want it now. Because the bridge is going to be right to the left that they built. It's a Chinese-built bridge, so... I can see them now. Now I understand why they really want that, so they can have a monument next to their bridge, and that's theirs. So I do
get a little more
that.
convincing for me on that.
But I think Bulito's going to tell them, you get rid of that lawsuit, and we'll talk about monuments.
And there's a lot more optics in that, and as well because that's the entrance to the Panama Canal. Right,
but it kind of gets covered now by the two bridges. It's kind of like sandwiched in between.
It will become
those.
an irrelevant conversation in a matter of just a few years.
Right, when that bridge opens, you're not even going to see it.
Forget it. Heck, when it's halfway built, because it starts from the outside in. So that first thing to be covered is that monument at that point. So it's going to be a moot point anyway. But for now, it's giving people, with everything going on with the tensions between China and Panama and the U.S. Anyway, there's more fuel for the fire. That's all that is.
Yeah.
So well, hey, good stuff.
That's our boating news for the evening, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
No, absolutely. It's good information, and there's other information which we're going to bring on our guest Ralph Furlong to talk about because some really big news which happened to take place right around where that monument is anyhow, right? And so this fourth bridge is something we keep talking about, and we just keep kind of lumping it all together, the fourth bridge and the tunnel going underneath right there next to the fourth bridge. But that tunnel is referred to, I was corrected today, that's referred to as the third line, which is the third line of the metro. Mm-hmm. And the bridge is a separate project, separate but together, if that makes sense. But let's make sense of all that stuff. And so, Ralph, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us here on Happy Hour at the Balboa Yacht Club, brother. And thanks for the beers, brother.
Cheers, Ralphie, my little brother.
How you guys doing today? Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Ralph, a lot going on in Panama right now, and as you said, the metro line is that third line. Give us a real quick explanation of what the metro is and where that third line comes from.
Well, as you can see, the tunnel boring machine, Panama, in that video going through, and I arrived Saturday, and they cut through on Monday, and I got a call on Sunday that I was there with a couple of buddies of mine that worked there, like, you want to come watch this? And I hadn't made plans to go, or else I would have gone. But I did go by afterwards and saw exactly where it came through. So, the line 3 is from the Westland Mall area is where it's going to be the ending part of that metro line where everybody would board there and start coming down towards
And,
Panama
and,
City.
and that mall, real quick, Ralph, that mall is what used to be like the area where the drive-in was, and that other side of Albrook, the other side of the runway, I guess.
No, this is in Chorrera. The Westland Mall is
On the other
in
side.
Chorrera. Yeah,
on,
yeah.
on the
That's
west
like
end.
the ending of it, but coming towards the city on the
Gotcha.
west side, not
Gotcha.
on our side,
West
the east
Bank.
side. Yeah, West Bank. So they pretty much came through, and they're still in time about a year and a half to 2 years left for them to actually have the whole connection, everything
Sure.
done, completed, and then that metro line will be just the rail in itself on the west side. They're actually doing some test runs on that side only, coming down, going back, testing the rail as far
Sure.
as from the, because they're ready on the west side, but they're still going to have, like I said, about a year and a half to 2 years to complete that third line, complete travel time.
And Ralphie, how deep is that tunnel underneath the canal?
In feet wise, under the canal, 80 feet under.
8 stories. Think
The
of an
bottom of the
8-story
canal.
building. Wow,
The bottom
that's
of the
deep.
canal, yeah. The
So,
base.
from the bottom of the canal down, not from the water level, not from
Yeah.
sea level.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a graphic on the screen now where you can see what it's talking about. That's exactly
63
that.
meters.
Yeah,
So
63 meters.
they breached, but they still have to do the all the way line going through all the way to the inner point of Albrook, where all that major hub is going to be. The metro lines all end up in Albrook Mall. This line 3 will end up in Albrook Mall. Line 2, line 1 all end up in
So where does
Albrook.
line 2 go?
Line 2 goes all the way to Los Andes areas. Remember
Which is
remember Alto Club de Lago, Altos de Lago, and up there on that side,
Like Las Cumbres?
Las Cumbres. Right pre Las Cumbres is where the last stop
Okay.
is.
Okay, so
Okay.
it goes to Las Cumbres, and then line 1, is that the one that goes out to Tucumán?
All the way to Tucumán, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And then
That's
there's
the
a
primary
branch-
one.
Yeah, there's a branch that goes off towards Las Mañanitas that
Okay,
way.
and so
So,
then
yeah.
is Albrook, is that considered like the central hub where they all meet?
Yes, that's usually everybody comes and they bring all the lines in there and they distribute
Central
like,
Station.
The
Yeah.
Chorrera, yes. That is the main line hub.
Very good, very good. Yeah, that's amazing to see. And as you can see on here, what Ralph's talking about there, as we could see on the video here just a moment ago, is the actual breaching of this tunnel. So as he mentioned, it's not completing the line all the way to Albrook yet, but that's one of the big breakthroughs, big I guess different points-
Milestones.
Yes.
Milestones. Yes.
So yeah, right there where you see where the tunnel's coming through, that's where the old electrical division housing was. I mean warehouse.
Right there on the intersection where the toy store was and the shoe store and the Gap.
Right by the stadium, yeah. That's where the old
Really?
one.
That's where that's coming out.
what's
That's why
coming
they
out
knocked
right
that
there.
building down.
Yes.
That beautiful building.
You know what's funny is you mentioned that because again we've been confusing this with the bridge.
Yes.
So we're assuming this is all the way back there by
La Boca.
No.
This is past La
No.
Boca.
This is
Past
La
Sosa
Boca.
Hill.
The machine could not go too vertical when it came through the boring machine, as well as by Rodman. When it went down through Rodman, you got to figure it had to go at least 100 feet to 200 feet from where the entry point is,
right.
all the way down towards the bottom surface of the canal, that 80-foot buffer, and then come back across, going all the way to where the old electrical division warehouse was by the stadium. And it couldn't come up too vertical, so it had to do certain types of elevations going all the
And
way
leveling, yes.
So
Like
on the
grading.
Rodman side, they have the tunnel boring machine really far deep. Now they're going to have to make it come out towards the street, towards where the rail is, the coming from Chorrera, in a gradual,
Sure, a
going
gradual
up.
incline.
The metro rail cannot go too vertical down.
So
People
now,
will be
Ralph,
riding
let me
that.
ask you something. You mentioned something when we were chatting about this one time regarding this machine when they're finished with it. What do they do with that machine?
This machine here, it's a German-made machine, and I believe they're going to try to use that eventually again, the same machine to the road going towards Chiriquí. They want to bore through Capira. The mountain
Campana, right?
Campana Hill.
Campana.
Correct.
The mountain Campana. They wanted. They having talks about, well, they have to refurbish the machine first, take it
Right.
apart, do everything maintenance wise to it.
Well, I
But
was
they
under
are
the impression that
considering
they leave those machines when they finish with them.
They usually send it back. They usually send it back
Or
to
bury
the
them.
company, and they take it all apart. They do a study on it. What how did it perform? How did
Okay.
these motors do? How can we do it better, quicker? Which
Sure.
this one here went, I would say, almost 8 to 10 months faster than the first line that they did when they went from Albrook all the way to Kiener, where the hot dog place used to be on Transismica. That's where it comes up, and that's
Wow.
that right there is approximate run of about 4.5 kilometers underground.
That's
So
amazing.
from Albrook all the way there, they take a hard turn and go all the way to Francismica, where the old hot dog Keener factory was. That's where the metro comes out there and goes all the way above ground from there all the way to Las Mañanitas. But that they did that tunnel there in approximately 2.5, 3 years. This one here is marking the breach at about 18 months, which is less than 2 years faster, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
And they're at 4.7 kilometers now, the same distance that the first one did in 2.5 years. So they've reduced it almost, I would say, 8 months. It's incredible what technology does, what the new motors does, and that's what Paul Gibbs, he knew that some of those new motors that they installed there after they started it, that was the new generation motors, pushed this drill to go a little bit quicker and efficient. Pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's pretty impressive here. This video here runs about 5 minutes, and we're not going to stop to just talk about it. But as you can see here, this will kind of give you an idea of the magnitude of this operation and what they've done here, and really, kudos to. Why I don't want the volume up. Sorry. Kudos to the companies that have done this, because I mean this is big time work here. This is big time technology work. This isn't
Yes.
this isn't third world work here at all, man.
Yes.
I mean,
It's big infrastructure. Yeah. You know
yeah,
what?
it really is, man.
When I was doing the research for to be informed with Ralphie's presentation, there's another major tunneling going on underneath Panama City. There's another tool, one of these machines creating a new sewer system for Panama.
Yes, Saneamiento de la Bahía.
Yes.
This one here is 13.7 meters up and down. As you can see how big it is, pretty big. The one they're doing for the Saneamiento is half. It's half the size,
right.
because what they're going to do is basically, this is the second line that they're doing. The first line, they did it back in 2011 for the Saneamiento de Bahía. The Brazilians came in, Odebrecht. They did that one. So now this company here is doing one similar to it so they can get better quality water. The water in the bay prior to when they did the first one was horrible, but the clarity incredible after they did it from 2011 on all the way to 2014. It took like 2 to 3 years. The water clarity and the water surface was so much better afterwards. So now they're trying to do it again, even though there's still pollution in the rivers, going down, and Wanda is in the rivers collecting the garbage, still trying to take it out. But there's still some pollution in those rivers.
Hey, speaking of pollution, I saw the other day a video of the mayor, again, Mayor Wonderful, out on a beach, out on Balboa Avenue or somewhere out there where it was, that at one point was just a disgusting, nasty, polluted place, and they just completely cleaned it up. They were sitting out there in nice, lawn chairs and whatever, and just enjoying a beach right in Panama City. It's amazing what these guys are doing.
Well, it's that mayor. He knows how to coordinate. The past mayors, they all wanted to do it, but it would take 4 or 5 different agencies coming together to do this type of cleanup. And Meyer pulls these coordinations off, and he got it done. Yeah. It's really beautiful what they did there. But anyway, guys, this is the reason why Panama hosting these forums, because of the number of ginormous projects that are going on there. And this is an example of what we said earlier, that the Chinese thought that they could perhaps bully us by saying they won't fund these types of projects, and Panama's like, well, that's fine. We're moving right along
Panama's
without.
a place that everybody wants to be in business.
Yeah,
with.
well, yeah, and
Kinda
plenty
weird
people
to
want to
name it
invest
down.
there. Right,
Yeah,
right.
sure.
So that's a
Wow.
great news there, guys.
So Ralph, give us some little bit more some narratives and context then to this project here, this third line, what it's designed to do, what it's helping to cut down on, and then of course most importantly, when are we thinking this is going to be up and running?
Yeah, this definitely is going to help a lot of those people that are on that side. Every day there is a lot of traffic. I can attest to what I saw. You know, you're looking at from 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. from the west side to come to the city to get there at 8. These people are having to get up at 3:30 in the morning, get on a bus. If they get on a bus at 4, trying to get across there by 5:36, so that everybody gets into the city and work
Yeah.
with 3 lanes open, you know, and just
That's
to
just getting you into the city. That's
Yeah,
I heard it's a 2-hour commute.
yeah, these people here will be able to travel on these metros going to the city, you know, 20-25 minutes tops. They can time their time to get up. They can get to the metro rail, get on, get to Albrook, and then disperse to all the other locations. The good thing about, you know, I believe, if from what I saw, that the bridge is trying to coincide to finish in 2 years. That's
Okay.
it's 2 years is pushing it for the bridge. They still have a lot to do. Those big columns that you see in this image there, they're going to be the centerpieces for the crossings.
Yeah.
That will take in itself, both columns to erect and have them ready, about 15 months from this month.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
about a year and a little bit change. After that, those precasts that you see there on the actual street will already be prefab, and they'll float them in there with the cranes, one after the other.
Sure.
They have metal girders underneath that support them as they're putting them in.
Those
And that's
columns
how
have to be
they're
built, and there's curing time, and it just you can't accelerate that. It
Yeah,
just,
well, there is no curing time when they're already done.
no, I'm saying the columns. That's why the columns are going to take so
Oh,
long.
the
because
columns for sure. Yes, yes.
they have to be
Those
built
will
to a
be poured,
certain
yes.
stress level, and Ricky can certainly attest to that with his.
Yeah, they just poured them, so they got to wait a little bit, you know, for
Those
that
will be
to
poured all
harden.
the way up, formed all the way up and poured. And then once that's completed, the actual cables will be the last thing they install as they're putting down the precast streets.
Sure, it just needs
all
to support
in.
them. You know, and what's interesting, and some numbers on the screen there: 160,000 daily passengers. That's huge. That's taking a big strain off of that bridge. And then, like Ralph says, if they happen to open about the same time, you know, that bridge is going to be another 40, 50,000, 60,000 a day. So you really are going to alleviate traffic big time in those areas. Unfortunately, what it's going to do is say, hey, you know what? There's not traffic so bad on the West Bank. Maybe we should move there. And so
Well, they are, and they're building
Howard is the place to go.
all of that area is blowing
If
up.
you go towards Chorrera now, on the left side towards the ocean, they have scraped all the hillsides ready to build houses. From now until the next 2 years, there's large developments going
Sure.
there. If you fly in on an airplane and you see nothing but brown dirt, it's because they scraped all the trees that were there and are
Yeah,
getting
they're
ready
prepping
for
it for
Arraihan, man. And we
Yes,
all know where Arraihan comes from, right? We all know what that really means. On the right hand. Another Zonian long-term part
Rio
of
Camito,
the culture.
Rio Camito, where Mariano Rivera's from, and they built the stadium there.
Yep.
That's where it's growing right there.
Speaking of, I saw where they just are getting ready to open a new soccer complex over there in Arraihan.
Oh, yeah, I saw that right in Bugurundu.
And
Burunga.
Yes, Tollbridge.
it's a big project that the Football Federation in Panama has put together, you know, to make it a state-of-the-art complex on that West Bank there. I mean, it's fantastic. It's
It's like a
probably
practice
gonna
field,
hold
right?
7
Or like
Oh,
a
it's several
JV.
fields. It's a big complex. It's definitely a place where you're gonna have multiple fields, multiple things going on, probably multiple tournaments and things as well there. But it looks really good from the pictures that I saw, and there was an interview they had with these guys. And I mean, like everything else that Panama's doing, it's amazing, man. Kudos to Panama. They really have stepped their game up.
They sure have. But here we got a little detail. Yeah, let's go. It's a little bit off topic, but one of our loyal guests here, Ralphie.
Yes.
What happened with all those crocodiles? We
Well,
have an idea what happened.
yes, yeah. Ricky and I have been throwing this around a little bit, and this has to do with a problem that was created about 40, 50 years ago.
No, when the canal went over. Remember, Ken Barsness told us
About
that they
40,
used to.
50 years ago.
Yeah, they used to control the crocodile.
Remember, guys, 1977 was 50 years ago.
Oh
Okay?
shit, that's right.
Yes. And when the canal zone, remember, one of the first places of the canal zone to revert over was law enforcement.
Correct.
Okay? And the protection of our waterways and our countryside, I guess, our jungles and everything was part of the law enforcement division. You know, the jungle cops there, like Kevin Barsis has chimed in and talked about. And they got rid of those people. And one of their jobs was to keep these populations, you know, in control.
Correct. That is correct.
You know,
and they haven't done that, and this is the result. Now you have overpopulation of these creatures.
Absolutely.
Guys, they're floating out to Toboga.
That's insane, man.
They're in Coronado. The Caymans are also in Coronado. So just
in Coronado, man. These guys are legit, man. They just travel.
Everything's growing. Everything's growing in Panama, even the gators.
I can attest to when COVID was happening that nobody was allowed to go into the outside for a period of 4 to 5 months. Everything multiplied. All those things multiplied. Nobody was there catching the fish, taking them out. So they multiplied tenfold, just like humans.
Even more so. That's true. So that added to it.
Yes.
Wow. That's incredible.
No, that's true about COVID. They said the animals took over. You know, when we were all indoors, they all came out to the cities and the towns, and they were cruising around. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's amazing, though. But it is
no cars have driven by this highway in a week, man. We can go out here now. It's cool. You know.
I mean, how are they gonna solve that? They're just gonna have to start shooting them or something. You know, that's just brutal.
Little by little. You know, you figure out a way to make money off of them, and you'll get rid of them.
We had we were using tuna bombs for the Cayuca race. Mandatory motor boats, mandatory tuna bombs at the start and at the finish line.
To make sure that there's nothing. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like, where is this race taking place? In the Nile, in the Amazon? What is this, man? That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. But hey, you know what? It's the price of progress, man. You know, it's a lot of things. Great things are happening, and you know, everybody's entitled to grow a little bit, and including the crocs. As Frank's saying here, we had a big croc under the pier. Yeah.
See, they just moved them, right? They won't kill them in Panama. They just won't do it.
Well,
they just moved them to the backside. Well, guess what?
You show somebody how much money they can make on some boots with that croc, and you'll see how quick he'll start shooting those things as soon as there's some money to be made. So, all right, Ralph, real quick before we move on, then, what's our tentative dates for line 3 to open up? And then what are we thinking on the bridge? And we'll bring you back for the bridge because I know today we were focusing on line 3. But what's the dates there for that line 3?
I see the metro line opening before the bridge, and I see it probably opening up if the timelines are correct. We're at February at the end of 2027.
And
they'll be starting to move people across. They're testing now prior, but around that time they'll be able to have everything ready that they need to test with all electromagnetics, everything that they need for that metro, and then they'll test, and then people will be traveling there by the end of 2027, which is it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, a little under 2 years.
The bridge will be a slow opening with both approaches, because once the bridge is complete, they have to tie into the approaches. So that's going to be another thing. The new interchange right by Sosa Hill. At Sosa Hill is at 75% excavated. And I was talking to an engineer that when I was there, I was able to talk to the person that was, administrating that part. And not only that, but you won't believe it, but I did get testimony as far as what was the decibel readings from Tavernia to the.
Oh, nice. Okay, let's hear it.
Below 85 decibels. So
it was.
Codier's 55.
Yes.
You guys are at 80. That's so loud.
But 85 is code. 85 and 90.
That's way too loud. Yeah.
Yeah, but if
California's 55.
Yeah, that's why everybody hushes and talks low.
Yeah.
But it's still, the lower the better. It protects the hearing.
Of course it does.
Correct. 85 is excessively loud.
Let me tell you what. I mean, I have found out. It's interesting, not to sidetrack on this, but it's not just damage to your ears, but I found out from doing my genetics test, my 23andMe, I was able to upload my data to this other website, and one of the things that I found out about myself genetically is that I am predisposed to have difficulty achieving deep sleep, right? And so I have trouble sleeping all the time. And what I found is that when I have these earplugs that I bought from Amazon, they're for sleeping. They're very flat, so they don't really press against you. And let me tell you what, when I put those in, I sleep great, right? And so I can imagine somebody that has that same type situation. It may not be damaging your ears, but you haven't had a good night's sleep in 6 months.
That's the whole La Boca area.
That's a
Oh
quality
my
of
God,
life issue there,
Tavernier.
man.
Well, one thing
Sure.
is the hearing and the decibels, but the other part that was what I realized was the vibration.
Yeah.
Now,
And the
one thing is
pounding, yeah.
hearing, the other one's the vibration from the movement. Now that it is felt, and that in itself, if you
Could be
feel like a
bothersome.
little buzz on the house or on the ground, but you don't hear it, that's the other one that is a distraction.
I imagine that wreaks havoc on pets too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they feel it.
All the
Yeah, heck
pictures
yeah.
I see of Sosa Hill looks to me like she made it really difficult
Yeah.
to excavate. It looks like they just excavated a tiny little bit in the longest time with the biggest equipment,
Right.
So she fought hard, man.
To
You wanna
continue
hear
the tradition of digging in Panama. It ain't gonna be
she
easy.
fought hard, man. She didn't give in easily. And guys, it's on the back side of the Sosa
Right.
Hill, not like on the Balboa theater side or
Right.
the
Try
Tavernier
to
side.
face the old dry dock.
Yeah,
Yes,
face the
and
old
you know
dry
what's
dock
funny
back
is that you think they're doing this major excavation. Could there be rocks flying off of there all the way down? Possible. However, you can still drive around it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's
I
kind
drove
of
by
yeah.
it. I looked up. I didn't see really anything, but I did get
Interesting.
a story from one of the guys there. But I can't say it. It's something that happened. It was just hilarious. But it was part of the bridge. But that's it for another story. But
Another
That'll
story.
be for our bridge story.
yes,
Perfect.
Well, before you go, Ralphie, I know you were just in Panama. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that Zonian golf tournament that you participated in Coronado?
yeah, that 5-day event we had. We on the 4th day we had a scramble at Vistamar, and so it was like an off.
Wait. Where's Vistamar for our viewers?
Vistamar is right before San Carlos on the left hand side. It's a community that's a golf community. There's a couple high rises there, a bunch of nice houses, large development, new development, and they have a really nice golf course there. It's been around probably now for the last 20 years.
Wow, so they didn't have it in Coronado then.
Yes, Vistamar.
Vistamar, okay.
But in Coronado, I'll tell you what happened. The first day we went out to golf, we had the front that hit the United States with all the cold hit. It hit Panama, and I had people telling me that they had never seen winds that strong.
That's what I heard. It wasn't temperature; it was windy.
30 years.
Yeah,
and it lasted for 3 days, and that in itself put a twist to the golf. So
sure,
it was fun. We had a great outing, and eventually Mark Murrup ended up winning the tournament with cumulative points every day. You get a point.
That wind, the wind, depending on the hole, could be, bust out a pitching wedge and drive it 300 yards. It just depends on how the wind's going, right?
And going against it too.
Hit a driver full swing and go about 30 yards.
Yeah, but summer in full force. No rain, but there was rain in the mountains. There was rain in the city, but no rains at the beach. It was amazing. It was pretty neat. It was a great time. Great week.
So how many Zonians you think were there?
We have I think the society members that were there, because Carl Orvis was there, the president of the society.
Yeah.
So they had a couple people taking pictures, and they will post it. And I think our total number there, if I'm correct, was like 28.
Okay, that's good.
So it was pretty good turnout.
And then, of course, there's the Panamanian side too, because how many total players?
28 Zonians. The as far as people that live down there, Zonians, they played with us, and the people that
traveled. It's strictly a Zonian tournament.
Yeah, it's strictly a Zonian tournament. No one else.
Okay, gotcha.
No one else.
Interesting.
We on Thursday when we had to scramble, we had other people participate up there.
Sure,
but it was basically us.
Okay,
a bus ride, a bunch of cars back to Vistamar and back and forth. So
Yeah.
it was good.
And it's been going on for a while. This is not the first year. I know this has been going on for a
I
while.
participated with these people for the last 12 years.
12 years.
Right
so
on.
yeah, right
Yeah,
on.
12 years.
Great tournament.
Definitely.
When I was living down there, the first time they said, "Hey, we're golfing Cornell. Y'all, you old farts are golfing here for real." So
Oh, you were living down there at the time.
Yeah, I was down there. So was 2012,
Yeah, right on.
2013, and then I ended up joining them to golf there when they golfed, and then I've gone back since I've been back with them too. It's such a fun time.
Right
Good
on.
deal. We're gonna have to do something about that. Maybe try and get down to one of those, or at least give it some coverage because it seems like a good tournament. You know,
the
unfortunately,
Zonians have
2
like
weeks after the
7.
other reunion makes it tough, but
Yeah. There's
you
like
know.
7 Zonian golf tournaments every year.
Yeah. And as far as the guys that do this tournament up there at the beach, since it was a week gap, they're deciding to bring it in next year, 1 week after the CZR. So
Much
it'll
better.
be an advantage for us to go the week of CZR and then
Sure.
straight to Coronado and enjoy 2 weeks of
Yep.
nice vacation.
Yeah, 2-week vacation.
and
Yeah.
golf.
That's a great
a lot
idea.
of people went in the week after the reunion. A lot of my friends were down there the week after.
I saw that too. I saw a big group started showing up then. So it looks like January and February are the months for Zonians to go back to Panama, and then of course, right around the corner here now is getting ready to start carnivals too. So
I think that's this week. Wednesday starts.
Tomorrow.
starts. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Oh,
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, it ends on a Wednesday,
Yes,
right?
it's
Yeah.
on Wednesday, Fat Wednesday.
Yeah.
Fat Tuesday.
Oh, Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday. It ends on Tuesday night. That's
Tuesday night, Fat Tuesday. You're right.
Get all your partying out, and then Wednesday you get your cross.
Oh, that's right.
Ash
Wednesday's the
and now you go
religious
through
day.
Lent.
Right.
That
You
was
get your
the whole
whop,
thing
whop.
was get your partying out of the way before Lent. You know, that's the whole kind of basis of the carnival there. But
And as you get on the Inter-American to get back to the city, it's backed up to Coronado. Just don't worry about it. You just get in the
isn't
car.
that insane? It's
For
back
Coronado.
Coronado.
Coronado
Wow.
at 15 kilometers an hour. You can get back to the city about 2.5, 3 hours.
So in
And-
about
and
2
there's 2
years, you
bridges.
just jump on the Metro Line 3 and you'll be over there in about 30, 45 minutes.
Yes, hopefully that. And you know
Yeah.
what's funny is that for me, in my perception, in the last few years that I've gone back, they have these metro lines in the city to be able to transfer people. However, I've seen that there's more cars in the city for some odd reason. More cars in the city than ever.
That means
that I
that,
saw,
that,
and
your,
in
that
Herrera.
means that the lifestyle is going up, the standard of living is going up, and more people can afford cars.
Well, yeah, that change comes very slowly, and it comes with city planning by reducing the size of streets, and that's what
Sure.
Meyer is doing with Calle
Correct.
50. $8
Correct.
million renovation
Yeah.
of that Calle 50, and it's basically what it is. It's just reducing, in other words, sharing the streets with other vehicles such as
Right.
bicycles, buses, and now with all the
Yeah.
with all the
No, you know what he's doing?
pilotless transportations.
Well, what he's doing is he's putting tunnels under the roads, Ricky. So Avenida Brasil, Avenida Argentina, there's going to be a tunnel that goes under.
Right. So the
Via
pedestrians go
España-
underneath the road and they don't block the traffic.
Yeah, Via España and Calle 50, there's a tunnel being made now that goes under it and goes to Via Israel.
Yeah.
Another way, so the roads are getting efficient, so you can go over and you can go under, and
I
there's
remember
no.
years ago I went to Europe, and in Brussels, in Belgium, it's like that. They have a lot of they have almost like express lanes that go ring around the city, and they're all underground. And you pop up above the ground to get off on this place to turn into this part of the city or whatever. But it's it really is. It makes so much sense,
Yes.
Yeah, they're starting with Calle 50. If you guys remember, that's the long thoroughfare in center of Panama.
Yep.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Right
Well,
on,
listen,
man.
Ralph, man, this has been
Thank
a
you, Ralph.
great, very informative episode, man. A lot of good information. Again, guys, we're still 2 years out from this being finished, but a big milestone was completed this week in getting that boring machine to have completed that journey underneath the Panama Canal. It is now broken out on the other side, but that's just breaking the surface. There's still a lot of work to finish laying. I mean, they haven't even laid track there. They're basically just boring this thing out and, getting everything set up in there. But I appreciate you coming out and doing this. We're looking forward to maybe next month we could have a bridge episode and give us the update on that, where that's going, at and all that good stuff. I know there's plans for another bridge now on the Atlantic side. Isn't that
As far as that goes, I don't know if it's going to be done there or further north, because they want to go that road that they're building out there. They want to take that road past the mines all the way to the Boca Chica in
Yeah.
Boca del Toro.
Yeah, well, the
And
big
Fort
push
Sherman,
is to
right?
develop the West Bank. The West
Yes.
Bank is the next push in Panama as far as long-term development is develop the West Bank.
That's
And the
correct.
entire all the way to the Atlantic
Correct,
side. Yeah.
correct,
All the entire
Correct.
yeah.
It's so underutilized on that side,
Yeah.
all the way north to south. So,
correct.
well,
Fort
hey,
Sherman's gonna get a lot of love.
we're looking forward to that, Ralph. That's going to be a good time to hear all about those good things. But again, appreciate you taking the time to chat with us tonight. And I know you've got some stuff going on with the family there. So, prayers to you guys there.
Gracias, Ralphie. We love it when you come on.
Anytime you're ready to come back on and give us some info, by all means, do it, brother. Gracias, amigo.
Thank you.
Take it easy, brother. Man, that was cool, man.
I love it when Ralphie comes on, man. You know what? He comes prepared too. When on our chats, he talks differently than when he comes on. When he comes on, he's sharp, man. His words
Got an
are
audience
sharp.
here, man.
He's punctual. He's good, man.
Well, he
Right
knows what
on,
he's
Ralphie.
doing, man. Ralphie is connected in the construction world in Panama. No end different buts about it. The guy does
that
know.
is
and
true.
This went way back to when they were building that set of locks. He was.
Well, he brought safety to Panama.
Sure
People
did.
in Panama, I mean, you would see. Come on, guys, you remember? You would see people hanging on, by a rope, fixing a window back in the day. You would see crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then Ralphie kind of brought his
upon himself,
business.
really.
down
I mean,
there.
he did. He
Now,
really.
you go to any job site in Panama, and it looks like a stateside job site, like an OSHA. Cal OSHA or something job site, with all the safety, equipment and
no doubt about it.
procedures and whatnot.
No doubt about it, man. He
So
really.
cheers to Ralphie for that. Another Zonian that did
done,
well
Ralph. Salute
for
to you, brother. Mm-hmm. Cool.
for the Panamanian culture.
Yeah,
God,
no,
I finished
no.
that drink. Oof.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, listen, let's give a little bit of love to our sponsor here, and then let's visit some Panama Canal review magazines,
yes.
man, because
Yes,
there's some good stuff
absolutely.
there. But we got to get our bills paid, so let's go ahead and take care of that here first, real quick.
We're still looking for our Howler Monkey hot sauce spokesperson. Just got an email from Panama.
You've got mail.
Hey, I'm Mac, and I grew up behind Howard Air Force Base in Panama. I can talk about hot sauce. On pizza, uy, que rico. So I just miro la camera and say, I'm Mac. I grew up in these trees next to Howard Air Force Base. Hey, are we really going to Napoli? And let me tell you, the flavors of ají chombo, garlic, and onions, they each hit you one at a time, and it's so delicious. Howler Monkey Original brings the true taste ají chombo of Panama to your pizza game.
Do you know a howler monkey who can describe the sweet heat of our original with authentic ají chombo peppers, or the fresh punch of verde where habanero warmth meets crisp bell pepper? How about the bold tang of Amarillo, yellow Scotch bonnets blended with mustard seeds? And of course, our hot, the same great flavor as original, fired up with red habaneros for that fire. Our sauces are all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, pure flavor and pure fire. Are you the next Howler Monkey spokesperson?
Yes, we are, Willie.
Right on.
You know what, Willie? That pizza pub, man. When I see that guy eat that pizza, I want to eat pizza, man. That just hits me like, oh man, I want pizza.
And what to me is amazing, especially
so
after
city.
seeing all the pictures of the Canal Zone reunion, and of course, everybody I think that went to the reunion went to Napoli's, and it hasn't changed. I mean, it's like, wow, man, it's like 1987.
The dining room
just
still looks the
yesterday.
same, right?
Yeah, it's amazing, amazing. And Jim had it on his ceviche right on. Yeah, that verde sauce is a very good. Listen, the thing about these Howler Monkey sauces, honestly, is they have a great flavor to them, right? They're not about, fire mouth and burning up. They have that red hot, which does bring some heat to it. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. But it's still, you still are able to taste the darn food. right? And then the Amarillo, which I happen to love, the Verde is a great one as well. And then their original, they all have, they truly have a flavor to them. And it is a Panama flavor. If you remember eating food in Panama, it had that distinct, there's, whether it was the cilantro or the culantro, whatever some of the stuff that they use there, that it was a very unique flavor, and they capture it here in these sauces. They really do. They're absolutely fantastic, and we're thankful to these guys.
Because the Mexican sauces also have their own special flavor, which is different than ours. It is true.
It 100% is. It 100% is. And again, it's fantastic. It's you can get it on at Amazon if you're not locally there. Oh, thank you. Absolutely. We got another brewski. Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
But yeah, if you don't have a grocery store that sells Howler Monkey sauces, go on Amazon. Just type in Howler Monkey sauce. It'll pop up. They have their own storefront on Amazon. They're fantastic. They're absolutely the best, man. Yes, on the they are. I mean, they are the flavor of Panama. If you want to get taken back to Panama, our senses bring things back to us, right? Certain songs, like when we play the K-Pasa music. If you're having this play in the background or something, also, and you hear that, you kind of look up for a moment. You hear that song, you're like,
yeah. Or Mark Cicero's song.
Right, exactly. And the same thing goes with flavors. There's certain flavors that just evoke a memory, right? And these bring you that Panama memory to it. And when you throw it onto an empanada, forget about it, man. I mean, close your eyes, you're in the zone, man. But speaking of going back to the zone, let's talk about this new segment we're going to do here, which is going to bring us back to the Panama Canal Review, which was a great magazine that came out since the 1950s, and it really told the story of the zone. Earlier I used that analogy of it was kind of like a Life magazine. Life magazine maybe meets National Geographic, maybe meets Newsweek, but it was strictly about the Panama Canal zone and growing up there and the region around it, right? Because sometimes you learn about the interior or maybe even, Costa Rica trips or Colombia trips, but it was for Americans that were living, in the canal zone, that hardship of having to live overseas. And it was really celebrated, but a really, really lot of fun. And so we want to go back to that here and start going through those memories and seeing the canal zone through the eyes of the folks during these different eras, because again, it came out in 1950 and went all the way up through our era. So a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different ways of doing it. So let's go ahead and kick it off and go back to 1971, guys. See, and there it is. Willie. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. That was cool. They have this template on one of the platforms I use that you can throw a logo on it and it throws it into a graphic like that. That was cool how it had that see-through on it. But that was an iconic logo, is right? That Canal Review with the kind of the curved wording there and the seal of the canal.
Gold too. It was in gold writing. I remember that.
So it was a lot of fun. So it was a monthly magazine, and I believe it was monthly, maybe quarterly. I'm pretty sure it was monthly. But anyhow, this is the February 1971 issue. As you can see, there it is on the cover there, which is something very iconic on that cover. And it's no coincidence that it was coming out at this time of the year, because this is that dry season spring, or I guess in February we're almost more into full dry season, but those trees and some other flora, I guess you could call it, right, of the zone, that was a big deal. They talked about that in this issue. That peacock bass you see on the screen there, that was a big deal. Wasn't always around in the zone, though. We're going to learn some interesting facts about the peacock bass and all that cool stuff about it there. Next to it, AI is really, really awesome, but it's not always so accurate on a few things. And in this case, it put some graphics there that aren't quite accurate. But what we're talking about here, if you guys recall going out to the interior, especially going out like to El Valle and those areas there, remember those bird cages that they made? They're very,
they were
like
wood rockets, airplanes, like all these different things. Yeah.
Yes.
They were really good. They were really, really well balsa wood. They were really well made. Yes.
They were really cool, and you're gonna find out what they were made out of, where that came from. There's an actual name, a term for it that was used that was kind of interesting. So we're gonna cover that a little bit, and then an interesting story about the fire department in Panama, the Bomberos de Panama. And I'm going to show you something really special that I found when I was doing the research on this. That just one of those interesting coincidences, I guess. There was a couple other articles about the cold shipments of food and stuff, but I wasn't going to go into that. And then something else about compasses and whatnot. But nonetheless, these are some really, really fun and cool stories. So let's talk about the first one here, and not always in the same order, but there was an article in this edition about the fire department. Okay, the Panama Fire Department has a really, really big history, goes way, way back, as you can see there. They were founded before Panama was founded as a country. They were founded before the Panama Canal. The canal's on way before all that stuff, a little bit after the Panama Railroad. But as you can see on that graphic there, they were founded November 27th of 1887. It looks like it says on the screen.
That is correct.
There. Started with 88 volunteers and 2 hand-operated pumps hauled by men. All right. So think about, putting a fire out back then. More importantly, you think about 1800s. How many buildings in a city were built out of wood versus concrete back then? So you probably had more of a fire hazard back then than you do now, and you had less capability of fighting the fire back then. So, that's kind of a scary.
Yeah, all the lights were candles too back then.
That always blows me away when I see like old pictures of Christmas and stuff, and people with their Christmas trees with actual candles on them. I'm thinking, wow, no wonder you had all those house fires during Christmas time. But anyway, so the fire department has a very rich history there. You can see in 1912 they made a big push to get their first fire truck, their first gas-powered actual fire truck. So now they weren't, hauling these by hand and having hand pumps to get the water moving and stuff. So, that was a big move forward for them. 1912, now you're actually Panama. Think about that, right? They're no longer part of Colombia. They're no longer part of a province. And as I guess before 1900, Ricky, I think we could look at Panama. Panama might be considered the Wild West of New Grenada and of Colombia. Is that
definitely was the Wild West? Yes, absolutely.
So it's no surprise then that some of these things were so basic, I guess, until much later on. And there, when I was doing some earlier research in some of those Canal records, one of the ones I pulled up just by chance, I came across it, was populations. And the populations of Panama City and Cologne, it wasn't even 100,000 people combined. It really wasn't that big. And then you look at how much it's exploded in the last 100 years to the tune of millions now. But, it really wasn't that big of a place. And so I guess maybe that also may have contributed to less of a view of America as colonists, and they came in and displaced all these people because there wasn't that many people there to begin with when they built the canal.
That's correct. Yeah.
So it kind of really changed the dynamic of the layout of it and all that. But
Dave showed us the number. At one time, there was more canal workers than there were Panamanians.
Exactly. Go figure that one out. And that just shows you that it really was, the Panama Canal, the United States coming in and establishing that and establishing the country really is what just caused that area to explode, because prior to that, it had been a center of commerce and transport for 400 years. So it wasn't that Panama was a newly discovered place. It just took this next big, huge leap in modernization to then make Panama the place it is. And then, fast forward now, and they're digging under the canal and stuff. So it really has improved. But anyhow, interesting story then. We are 1912. They've got a truck now. They've gotten really modern there. And then in May of 1914, something really big takes place right near an area that we've talked about for a lot of other reasons. Retired fire chiefs like me so appreciate. Right on. Absolutely. Well, and we appreciate your service. So I've got in just a moment here, Jim, I've got a follow-up to this story and this picture that you'll really appreciate here, which just it was a very much a coincidence for me, but an amazing coincidence. But anyhow, Ricky, this polvorín, what is this story about, and what happened here roughly?
Well, it's similar to almost every city back in the day. Just they store, like what happened in Beirut recently, right? They stored a bunch of powder into this storage area, and blew up, killed a bunch of people. Something like 22 people died that day.
So Ricky is telling us a version for our 3-minute show, not for our hour show. But so yes, in this area, which was near the Plaza Cinco de Mayo, which we got to know later on, and where that Shaler's Triangle is, and Central Avenue, all that. In that area there was a building that was where they stored a lot of gunpowder and stuff, for guns and maybe construction, who knows, whatever it was. But bottom line is they had this going on here, and there was a fire there, right?
Well, May 1914, so probably some canal, maybe some canal stuff. Yeah,
could be. In fact, it's in some of that research I did. There was in this canal record they had advertisements, and it's funny to read some of these advertisements because they're Americans and Panamanians in Panama that are advertising to sell stuff to Canal Zone people building the canal and stuff. I mean, you can buy guns, you can buy watches, you can buy clothing and stuff. And so I would imagine that gunpowder, back then you probably didn't have a Walmart where you bought, a case of shells and stuff. So you probably had a lot of reloading, and so maybe there was a need to buy gunpowder and just keep that at home. But
1,500 kegs of powder,
yes,
300 cases of powder, and 90 cases of dynamite all blew up. And so
and
Willie, the worst part was that the hoses couldn't reach the building
when
they were taking trying to turn that off.
Sure. No, and imagine even if they had reached some of those hoses, you get to that point there, forget about it, man. There's no hope for that, and you're talking about, although I guess they weren't in the hand pump trucks anymore, but bottom line is the powder keg, the fire got to the powder. Right, they couldn't stop it. They couldn't put it out in time. Massive explosion. An explosion. And if you read about it there, if you go to like Panama Vieja Escuela and those publications, they'll throw these stories out there every so often. And there's talk that this was heard miles away. The explosion was, broke windows and whatnot because of I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of explosives in this place. 6 firefighters ended up losing their life in that
instantly.
Other people.
And,
yeah,
and
which I mean, I guess if you're gonna go, that's the way to go, man.
Right. And one of the great quotes. Sorry, Willie, to interrupt you, but I'll forget. One of the great quotes coming out of that time was that the fire chief said, "Well, the possibility of them retreating never crossed their mind." So that was a big thing, how they just fought this.
Well, and that takes us, when we fast forward to today's core, which, mind you, we're talking about the Panama Canal Review magazine in 1971. And in 1971, the Corps, or the fire department Corps, was now an 800-man force, included 110 professionals, 700 volunteers. They're using high-pressure snorkel pumpers. As you can see, that image may be a little bit more modern than what they had in 71, but they did have those big trucks then that now had leveled things up. And to go back to what you just said about that quote, Ricky, right below that, you see that there's a banner there that says discipline, honor, and abnegation.
Never heard of that word.
I didn't either. I went to look that up, and I consider myself a wordsmith. So when I see something like that, I'm like, I want to learn about this. And so I looked up what abnegation meant. And in this case, because abnegation can be looked at as a negative, but like disregarding things. But to your quote, Ricky, they disregarded their safety. At no point did they worry about their safety. They had to try and stop this before this thing went off and killed many, many more people. And again, if you think about living in the zone in the 60s or 70s or 80s, if you happen to go in a lot of areas in Panama, especially in this area here, which was still a lot of the older Panama, everything there was wood. And it was all crammed together, 100%, man. So you get the right conditions there, and a fire goes, and that'll take out entire neighborhoods. We've seen, and we've gone over that story, a little bit about the fire in Cologne and how that wiped out an entire section of Cologne City just because of the nature of the construction and the limited resources to put them out. So, discipline, honor, and abnegation really came from the fact that these guys stood there and said, hey, you know what? We got a job to do, man. We're not going to cut and run here.
Yeah.
We may not make it out, but we're gonna save some lives if we can.
You know, Willie, we talked about corruption in Panama earlier on the show, and one thing about the bomberos in Panama is they have never, I don't know about now though, I thought there was some issues with some clothing, but they have never ever been involved with the major corruption scandals of Panama and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, indeed.
That's one thing. They've been always good about that, and we all appreciate that Panama has a professional fires.
Absolutely, you know, and like Jim just mentioned here, retired fire chiefs like me appreciate this so much. And again, Jim, we appreciate your service there. So this was the picture that, as you can see, it matches the drawing up there, which, you know, the AI got that pretty good. So I'm looking at this picture here, and then I see the guy in the front seat on the left side. And my uncle was also fire chief, and he also made it up the ranks in the Panama Fire Department. That looked just like him. And so I zoomed into the caption, which you don't see it on here, but that is in fact my uncle and also my godfather, Lino Cesar Perez. And that's him sitting on the left side of that front seat there as they're bringing this thing out. I'm probably using it for a parade or something, because obviously in 71, I'm assuming they've moved past their 1912 fire truck. But yes, so I've always had an appreciation for the fire department as well. I remember as a kid, my uncle would take me to the fire stations in Panama, and you know, my grandfather, you'll appreciate this also, Jim. My grandfather was in the New York City Fire Department, and he retired as a fireman. And so when he went down to Panama back in the 70s to visit my dad and visit us and family, you know, he went and visited my uncle. And of course, being a fireman himself, you know, he gave him the grand tour. And I mean, they did it all, just pulled out all the equipment and showed him all that stuff. So yeah, it was really special to just by coincidence looking at this episode. And the only reason I did, guys, is when I click on for whatever reason on the Canal Zone Museum site, this issue happened to come up, the February 71. And so I was like, okay, cool, let me throw it up there. And then lo and behold, as I started going through it, there's my uncle that popped up in it. So yeah, that was a really, really cool story. Made it a little extra special, the appreciation for the
you know, the beard. The beard is what makes it look like you when you wore a beard like that. Looks just like you.
Yeah,
yes.
That's my Tio Cesar, man. So yeah, that was really, really cool to see. But again, that was just one part of that, you know, Panama Canal Review magazine. As Ricky said, this was something that had a lot of reading to it. The other one that we learned about there was these birdhouses.
That's more accurate. The helicopter.
It is.
Sure.
You know, some of these a little bit extra intricate there. That cathedral, I don't recall seeing anything that intricate there, but the star one, I remember seeing quite a few of those out there. So that was
the helicopter, not that intricate, but definitely they had like airplanes and helicopters.
Yeah,
they definitely had those.
So they call it Viruli or Viruli, I guess. And Viruli. I think that's like a little town or village up in the mountains in the province of Antón, right? And El Valle is nearby there, of course, as you can see on there. They make these out of sugarcane, right? And so it's not balsa wood, it's not bamboo, it's actually sugarcane they use to do these. Yes. And they use all the sugarcane materials. Very basic what they had there. You know, they have the machete obviously to cut that stuff down, the little knife to trim it, and then I guess whatever that other one is, probably to pull those strands to get your ropes or your tying.
Yeah. Military families always bought those things. Yeah. I remember almost all military families had those in their backyard.
Well, you know, I think you know, it's funny you say that, Ricky, and I think it had something to do with the fact that, you know, a lot of times they were passing through, right? And so where they appreciate this stuff, and maybe as they've traveled around different areas of the world, they've collected things, you know, to take back home as their memories, where we kind of just grew up with it and took it for granted. You know,
right.
We drove by like, oh yeah, those bird cages again. You know, buy one. Oh, for what? They'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll be there tomorrow. Right. That's definitely the way we would think.
And all of a sudden, 2026, we're like, damn, I wish we had one of those bird cages, man. You know, that would be kind of cool to have. Yeah, and now the military family's like, yeah, you dummy, you should have bought them when you were down there. You know, so
but it's definitely good craftsmanship, no matter what.
Yes, and all pure handmade stuff. And you know, this probably goes way back to pre-canal times, and who knows. But going to 1971 prices, you can see on the graphic there, a simple house cage ran you $1.50 to $2.
Yeah, I remember that.
How about that, huh? Jeez. Complex helicopter. The helicopter apparently was the popular one because they mentioned that in there was $2 to $3.50 on there. So again, or maybe let's say $8. You know, kind of an odd way to go. But like the larger one, I did see in this issue, I believe it was. There's a picture, and I should have tried to grab it and converted it on here. And it's two girls at Panama Canal College, I believe, and they're holding up one of the Bridge of the Americas, or the Thatcher Ferry Bridge of these.
Yeah.
And my God, this thing is 6 feet long. It's amazing. Just a big beast of a, and again, a cool little cage, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
Probably
not sure
$5 for that one.
right? You know, yeah, I pay the big bucks on that one, you know. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Oh, awesome, Steve. Thank you. Another beer for us. Woo-hoo.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
But yeah, so I you know, when I saw this, I thought, wow, again, one of those things that, oh yeah, I so remember that. I so remember driving down to the interior, going to the beach, and seeing those on the side of the road, especially if you're going to El Valle. You definitely saw those, man. So great memory there. A great culture there for Panama. These are, again, the eyes of Zonians in 1971. Now, going back to the cover, as you can see, there it is on the middle of the screen there, the cover of that tree there. And this is something that's interesting about the zone, is a lot of these trees here and the different colors and different things that they produced. And the one that stands out, which was on the cover of the magazine that day, was that yellow tree. Okay. An interesting tree that is. It's called the Guayacan.
Guayacan.
It blew. I guess you can call it blooms. It goes to that yellow color at the beginning of the dry season. That is the time
we all remember it too, because it's beautiful.
It stands out. I mean, because you know the beauty of living in the rainforest, even in the dry season, there's still a lot of green because the trees are all green everywhere, and you have trees everywhere, right? And that's the way the jungles are. And these things, I mean, they pop, man. They are bright yellow. In fact, the magazine cover doesn't do it justice. It's kind of got that kind of 70s Andy Warhol style look to it. But they really do pop that real intense yellow. We'll show you in the next slide here.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you a Canal Zone tradition right now during the dry season. Everybody, every kid, I know I did, we would all water our lawns for hours to make sure we never had brown grass. And remember, we all had sprinklers, and I remember all the kids would be out there with, I know my neighborhood, we'd all be there with our hoses watering down
because the dry season it was. I mean, you know, remember playing football. And if you didn't have it was hard as a rock to get.
It was hard as a rock. Yeah, we didn't play football, not summer, not this.
Yeah, no, I guess that's why they had the baseball and everything. But
yeah, but in Panama nowadays, like football season, which they call their NFL season, starts now, which is varsity and heavyweights.
That's right.
So that actually starts now. But those kids now play in artificial turf, Willie. They don't play like us. They do play either their championship game or their all-star game at Balboa Stadium, as going back to back
Guayacan.
to the day.
Okay, right on. There you go. That's a pronunciation there. That's
Guayacan, not Guayacan.
That makes sense. Well, you know, and listen, we're Zonians. We have our Zonian slang that we throw in there, so that's probably where that came from. But another interesting one here they talked about was these nature's water pistols. I don't remember these. Okay, so I'm not sure, but this African tulip, the one on the top left there, that red one, that apparently you could squeeze that thing and it had a bunch of water in it. It was like
I remember those. Yeah.
Okay.
Like red and yellow. Yeah. I do
okay.
remember those.
Okay, there you go. And that's the African tulip. Okay, the African tulip tree, unopened, holds water that you placed, so they earned it the name the fountain tree, because you could squeeze those out apparently. So, okay, dry season added 50 yards to my dry. Yeah, look at this guy. Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, when that ground is hard as a rock like that, the ball travels, man.
And it bounces.
It just keeps going, man, and keep going, no doubt, man. Yeah, no, I wasn't a golfer down in the zone. I didn't learn to play golf till I moved up here to the States. But
yeah, me too.
That's one of the regrets. I wish I would have been a golfer in Panama, because I think it would have been a lot of fun to golf down there. But anyhow, a couple other fragrant flowers, I guess you could call them here. The frangipani, which again we know that name for a street, right? Yep. Frangipani Street. It was named after a flower, which apparently is very fragrant, and they use that for perfumes, right? Yeah. There's another one.
It's also one of our dictionary episodes.
Yes, that's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. The other one then is Ling Lang or Ling Lang or something like that. I guess pronounced. And I that term sounds familiar, for like massage oil and stuff, aromatherapy and stuff. I've heard that term for one of those. What do they call those types of oils? But anyhow,
Massage oils.
yes, like the massage oils. And then the last one on the bottom left there. Okay, the cannonball tree. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and it could be a different one, but I thought those were the ones that were called a calabash. Was that the same? Because those were on
I
a
don't even
tree, like
remember
on a
those.
big vine, and they were almost the size of a coconut, but they were green. I don't remember them looking brown like that. They were green, and because I remember a story. John Kramer and I were coming home from a party in Albrook, and I was staying in his house that night in Diablo. And so we were going by this house, and there was a calabash tree across the street, or a tree that had those vines on it with a couple of those big fruits. He's like, let's hit that house. I hate those people or whatever. So we did. We grabbed those big ass calabash and we slammed against that house and went take off running. It was like 2:00 in the morning. We turned the corner. There's, of course, a Guardia Nacional patrolling. We stop and long story short, it was that, I believe it was that plant there.
Did it stink?
I believe so, and I think that's why he said, because they're going to come out and the whole place is going to stink tomorrow.
There you go.
It might be the same ones, and I just, I remember them green, but I mean, like a lot of fruit, they probably do change color and whatnot. But it was like a vine that grew along all over the tree and had those big giant fruits on him. But let's take a look at these a little bit more in kind of a full color to get you to understand. That yellow one, that really was what it looked like, guys. I mean, that, if you remember,
Guayacan.
yeah,
Right.
that was.
And the one underneath it too. That's the one I really remember.
Yeah,
Pride of India.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, beautiful,
Yeah, so-
beautiful, beautiful.
But that's that's part of that canal zone legacy or culture. And it really wasn't a Zonian thing. It was Mother Nature, but it was the uniqueness of that area, right? That you could have those pretty cool flowers there and trees and whatnot. And I know that you'll see a lot of those pictures, especially when you're transiting the canal. I've seen a lot of pictures of that where they've taken, you're just a setting of nothing but jungles and trees, because obviously you're in the middle of the Gatun Lake, and then you'll see those patches of bright yellow that just pops out, and that's those what do you call them? Guayacan trees, as Jim said.
Guayacan with a Y.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the other thing that we saw in that issue they were talking about, we mentioned it earlier, is the peacock bass.
Yeah,
Let's go do some fishing in Gatun Lake, go fishing in Gamboa. And if you were, let me backtrack on this, because if you were fishing at the time that Al Sprague was fishing, if you recall when Al Sprague visited us, he was an avid fisherman, but you're talking way back when, in the 40s and 50s, right? In that era when he was fishing, there was no peacock bass back then. Okay, this fish was introduced, as you see on the bottom of the text there, arrived in Panama in 1966. They came on a Copa flight from Coast. No, they brought it in, the eggs from Colombia, and they brought them in. I don't know for what reason. Maybe to control mosquitoes or something. Who knows? But it's typically done for a brilliant idea that ends up being disastrous. But long story short, they introduced the peacock bass to the waters of Panama. They call it the peacock bass because of the tail. It's got that eye on the tail that's very, very unique, and that's a survival thing for animals, right? Because a predator doesn't know which way that fish is going to swim, right? Because if the eye is on that side, you assume it's going to swim forward, and you go to the wrong side, right? And so it tends to confuse the animal. So that's what's unique about them. The other thing, and hold on, I got a little bit of a tickle in my throat. So you see the fish there on the image there, the one in the middle, it's got that big bump on it. That is called a spawning hump. And the males develop this. It's fatty. It's reabsorbed during spawning season. And the only thing that I can surmise maybe is that it's a busy time. There's probably a big competition for finding a mate. And so you probably don't sleep a lot. You probably don't rest a lot. You probably don't eat a lot. And so maybe they build that up so that during that time they can just be on the prowl, on the Pepe Le Pew, and they got something to sustain them. And maybe that's why they have that, because it is a fatty lump, but it does disappear after that mating season or that spawning season, I guess. Yes, and Jim just posted on there Sargento. That's absolutely right. Those 3 stripes is why they called it the
That's why they call it
Sargento.
Sargento. Yes.
That is
I know,
correct.
I know.
That is where that term came from. Known for head shaking jumps and hard fights. You listen, if you type in peacock bass fishing, in Google and put in images, you'll pull up a lot of pictures, and a bunch of them are from Panama and the tropic areas and whatnot. And yes, there's a lot of pictures of that bent, kind of with that lure fighting, because they put up a fight, man, for that little fish.
Yeah, they're known as combat fish,
Yeah, they are for sure. And a lot of people will tell you that the meat of the peacock bass is better than Corvina for ceviche. That they say the best
Ooh.
ceviche is
So
with
what would be
peacock
the
bass.
best way to cook them then? Anybody out there? How do you guys cook your Sargento? I would
have
say
a feeling
fried.
if we can push the discussion out a bit, because we always have that lag here, but something tells me that Jim Duffus is going to tell us something about maybe doing something with the peacock bass here, because he was the one that brought up the Sargentos. Yes, they are. Or Stargentos. There you go. But yeah, they were Sargento because they had the 3 stripes. I mean, your sergeant is your 3 stripes. And so that was the term that the Panamanians gave to it, or the Zonians, who knows who it was. But I do remember hearing that term before. Lee saying at the club in Las Cumbres on the lake, you catch bigger, where they were introduced into Panama. Yeah, I mean, and typically when you bring in a species like that, it's aggressive. They do tend to outgrow all the other stuff out there, simply because fish haven't learned to defend themselves against it, right? They haven't learned to avoid it and whatnot. And so, but either way, they said that this thing was, if you were fishing in Gatun or in Gamboa somewhere, you're definitely going to catch a peacock bass.
Fried. Yeah, that's what I would think too.
Okay.
Fried. And in ceviche, yeah, that would be with both my choices.
Sure,
eat it raw right there, like the Hawaiians do. Hawaiians, they go fishing, and then they get their fish. They don't take it home. They eat it right there, raw,
on the spot.
It's right on the spot. That's
interesting.
Of course, they take it home, but they normally eat, the first fish.
First one you got to eat first. Eat and then take the rest home after you get your caught. But yeah, okay. And that's something we're gonna have to figure out, is get some ceviche recipes and compare some ceviche recipes, because that's a
tasting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard, obviously, everybody talks about Corvina, which, by the way, a lot of places you won't, here in the States, you won't find the name Corvina. But what's the other name for
it's what do you call
sea
those?
bass?
Sea bass, Chilean sea bass.
Chilean sea bass, exactly. If you look at that one, you'll get Corvina, guys. So okay, I'm sure most of you know that by now, but if not, that's what you want to call it. I recall that the idea was to introduce a sports fish and a source of protein for the locals. What they didn't plan for, because of their voracious appetite, is they pushed out all natural species. There you go. And that's typically the case, guys. When you bring something in, it does something else, and we don't look far enough into what the repercussions are. But interesting. Okay, they brought in for sports fishing. Speaking of fishing, Pat, do you do ice fishing? Pat's up in Minnesota. I think I've seen him do that in the past, and I've never been a big fishing person anyway, but I can't imagine, going to sit on the ice there and cut a hole in that ice and kicking back, but maybe that's a thing, I know that I've gone, like, a couple times that I've gone fishing here in Tampa with Gary Klingon. Gary Klingon loves to fish, man. That guy is a fisherman through and through. And every so often he'd be like, "Hey man, come on, let's go fishing." I'm like, "Oh man, all right." And I'll catch like 5 or 6 fish, man. He's like, "Dude, wasn't that great?" And I'm like, "No, not really. I didn't enjoy it at all, man." But I don't know. It's just, some people love that stuff. That's not my thing. Bill Hicks and I fished a lot in Escabal. Okay. Yeah, no, and listen, this, I didn't realize that it wasn't native to the zone until I just read this just the other day. I always assumed that was, one of the fish there, but it was brought in, and because it was everywhere, man. I mean, if you ever talk to anybody about fishing, they, peacock bass. That's all everybody talked about was the peacock bass. So, but hey, that's that was another interesting piece here. The last piece then, and that was really it. They had a couple of things like that reefer stuff and whatnot, but that's for another episode, because we do have this excavation piece that we're working on, and part of it is when they started bringing in some of those refrigerated goods and stuff, how that really changed the game for Zonians living and working in the zone. Real quick side note, the U.S. government, the ICC, subsidized food here so that it would be so cheap that it was a no-brainer for you to leave the comforts of Ohio, Wisconsin, New York, and come and live down in the horrors of Panama to build a canal. Well, man, you could buy steaks for pennies on the dollar. It was just, but it was all subsidized to make this place so enticing that people would want to keep going. So, but anyhow, very, very interesting, guys. We went a lot long. We thought we were going to have a shorter show. We went a lot longer.
A 1 hour show is what we were aiming for.
We were aiming for it, and we did. I just want to do real quick. I want to touch on something because we did get a lot of questions on this, from Dave's conversation last week. And so, we were talking about that sea level canal, right? And how they talked about trying to do that and whatnot. And I even asked the question myself. I go, how do you have a sea level canal in a place where we know that the Pacific side, the ocean, the tides range 20 feet difference, right? And long story short, what they were talking about doing was building this new long channel, okay? And they were going to have on the Atlantic side, it was just going to be an open channel. Think of it like the Suez Canal. It's just an opening. You just sail right in and out, okay? No issues there because the tides are maybe a foot, half a foot. There's nothing there. And the thing about the tides, guys, is it's not like it's going to suddenly make, tilt the canal, okay? Water seeks its own level always. The problem is, as the water is moving to seek its level, it's creating currents.
Oh, that's correct. Yep.
And that was the issue. In the Panama Canal, it is considered the safety measure for the Panama Canal was a current of 2 knots. Anything above 2 knots became dangerous. Well, when the Pacific side tides go up and down, they either push a lot of water in or they draw a lot of water out. And the current was almost 4.5, close to 5 knots. While you can navigate in that, it's not considered safe, especially for a lot of shipping traffic. And so that was the issue that they had to control. It wasn't the sea level itself. And so what they opted to do, the plan was on the Pacific side, they were going to have a section right at the entrance that was going to have 2 lanes, as you can see on the graphic there. It's not accurate, it's not to scale, but basically what they're talking about there was on the left side, as you can see on the graphic there, that would have been a lock chamber. Just like what we have now in Miraflores, Pedro Miguel, and Gatun. You'd have a ship go in, the gates close behind it. It would either raise it or it would lower it, depending on the tide, right? And then open the gate on the front and it would pass through. On the right side, that would either remain open all the time or it would be closed. And what they figured out there was that from the time that the tides go up and down, there's 2 times a day that you had 2 high tides and 2 low tides in Panama, if you recall, okay? During those movements up and down, there was a time when you had, and I forget the term, it's probably on here somewhere, but where the movement, there was no movement of the current. It was very low current. And at that point is when they would open that other gate and have that free passing through. The thing about it was that was only about 7.5, a little under 8 hours a day that you had no strong currents. The remaining 14, 16 hours or whatever, you had to use this lock. But this chamber was going to be very wide, very long. And even with that one lock chamber and the other side closed, you're still going to be able to get about 86 ships per day going through the canal.
That's almost 3 times what goes through today.
But during that
36, I think, goes through.
Exactly. Today. But during that 7.7 hours, 3.5 hours at 2 different times of the day that you had it very calm waters, you could open that up. You could increase the traffic because now you really had flowing, and the locks area, you leave the locks open as well because now you have free traffic. But that was the whole way they were going to do it. And again, the way I always envisioned it was, you got these high and low tides, and on the other side, it's going to create an imbalance. It wasn't an issue with that at all. Water will always seek its level. Hell, and you think about it, you go down to South America, you go from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean very naturally. There's no tilt there, right? But in Panama, because of that range, you would have a rush of water either coming in or going out, and that was the problem they're trying to avoid. Mm-hmm. So
makes all the sense.
Now, what would be interesting is to find out and Jim's adding here, not just the tide, but the rush of water eroding the channel. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is, again, we've learned that's why the causeway was built on the Pacific side, because of that erosion of again, shows that exact same concept that the tides coming in and out cause such a current that you are going to erode that channel. My God, you're right. You ain't kidding, Jim. You would have to have a triple the size of a dredging crew constantly working that. It wouldn't be practical. You'd almost have to concrete out the whole approach, which wouldn't make sense. But
yeah, and that's why it was so deep, Willie. That's why they were planning it to be so deep.
Yes, correct. Now, here's what I would like to find out is why the new canal that they built in 2010, why that one wasn't sea level. Now, one thing that I did learn with this new canal, one of the other things that they were going to have to do, and I should have pulled that graphic up, I didn't have it here, but they were eventually going to drain Gatun Lake. They weren't going to use that anymore. They were going to get rid of all that. They're going to eventually just get rid of those locks, and the original canal was just going to go away. They were going to dam up the Chagres River in Gamboa, and they were going to create a channel to take it up to the Atlantic, up by Nombre de Dios, out in that area there, because they were concerned with the flooding in the new areas again, once they did that. But apparently they were going to get rid of the old canal and build this new one. So
this is all in the 30s, right, Willie, that they were planning all this?
That's when they started the construction, correct, in the 30s. And then, of course, World War II came in, and then strategies changed, and suddenly it wasn't worth doing all that stuff, and here we are today.
I kind of feel like that was a good thing.
Yeah, I can only imagine that once you build something like that, you have no need for as many Zonians and as much of the canals, because a lot of it was to support the big infrastructure around these locks and whole operation.
All the workers, yeah.
But just from the standpoint, and this is where I think, for maybe some people that were living down there in Panama here recently, that lived down there during this new canal being built, it kind of maybe gave you a little bit of a feel for what it was like 100 years ago, right, when they were excavating for the old canal, and to see all that movement and the the big trucks and the dirt flying, and this, like Teddy Roosevelt said, let's make the dirt fly. It would have been kind of interesting to see all that happening in real time, but it didn't happen, as we've learned here. And so nonetheless, that's where we are. So anyhow, guys, that was, again, just to piggyback off of Dave Dahlstrom's story about that third locks and really how that sea level canal was going to work, because it, I always, found that kind of strange thinking about those tides, but they had a very simple fix to it. It was just put a set of locks here by the entrance, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody's noticed, and Ricky, I don't know if you've even noticed it, but you see the picture behind us there.
Yeah, no, I did notice. I did notice that we didn't have our typical bridge.
Yeah, I'm very historical.
But that's okay. I kind of like that we're changing it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going through these canals.
These are some great pictures too.
This is taken. I mean, you can see from the style of the ship that's in the background. This is a very, very.
It's actually the same view.
Yes,
it's like there's the Amador. There's the Amador dock.
Taken in the 60s or 50s, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it was
Willie.
It was a different view there, but yeah, this was a little different. Hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys, let me know if this, Panama Canal review is a cool segment. I think it might be, but
it is, Willie, because that review, Willie, covered canal operations, engineering updates, canal traffic, canal maintenance, and back then they were also studying a lot was the expansion Neo-Panamax. So we're gonna have some good stories to talk about. So I think it's gonna be a good one. Really, I think
it'll be fun.
Yeah,
it should be a lot of fun. But
and we'll throw in Spillway every once in a while. We'll mix it up.
Yeah, we still got to go back to that one. And I'm telling you, this new canal record that I've been reading, I mean, wow, just. One of the things that was really cool, they very much incentivized production, right? And so as you look at the Canal Record, was a newspaper, maybe you can call it more like a newsletter, but it came out weekly in the Canal Zone all the way back in 1905, I think 1907, 1908 they started. But I mean, every single week they're talking about, how much excavating they did. They're talking about which excavator dug out the most this week, very competitive and stuff. But it was cool to think about it. And then you can envision, man, this is this is our Panama Canal being dug out, man. And these people are, you know, they're not looking at like this grueling work. They're looking like, man, I want to dig more to beat these guys, you know, and just that whole spirit of competition and that whole American way of doing things that ultimately led to this canal zone that we all had the great fortune of growing up in. So it's going to be a lot of fun researching that. You know, we are going to do an excavating segment that's going to touch a little bit on all these things, because I mean, I'm telling you guys, there are some amazing stories of just the amount of life that was in the early parts of the canals, and that you know, we think of it as shoving dynamite in the ground, blowing it up, and excavating and doing this and pouring concrete.
But
there
they
was a
partied
whole
just like we
life.
did.
Yes. And
Yes,
more so because
absolutely.
they had nothing else going on, and life sucked in Panama in 1904. So the government went out of their way to make these people feel like, dude, this is a great place to live in, man. And so this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to do it. But that's for another
once
episode.
a month, or
yeah,
every
once
other
a month.
month?
I think we can do that. I think so. You know, we've just got to figure out. We're cramming a lot of stuff in, but it's a lot of fun stuff. So, but anyhow, guys, good show. A lot of good recapping. Some cool information there. Ralph was awesome with his third line stories, and a lot of great progress there. Panama, kudos to you guys. You guys have really, you know, taken a big step in a country. Really proud to be a Panamanian and seeing all these things happening there. Sucks that the canals was not there, but you know, if something cool is going to replace it, it's some amazing Panama. But hey, nonetheless, guys, looking forward to next week. Ricky, I heard the other day that getting back into Panama, getting a passport and stuff, that you can do it up to your grandkids.
Up to your grandkids, guys. So if you were born in the canal zone, you can get your kids and your grandkids to be Panamanians. Now, there are several ways of doing it, and next week, guys, we're gonna have a Zonian attorney that lives in Panama come on and explain to us exactly how they do that. But if you want to do a really quick one, here's my buzz. Send your grandkids to study 4 years university in Panama. All the college students will get green cards in Panama.
But yeah, so Rodolfo Arias will be joining us next week. So have your questions about citizenship, cedulas, all that stuff for you, your kids, and grandkids. But Ricky, have a great weekend. Cheers, everybody. Hey, Valentine's Day tomorrow. Don't forget. All right, we are out of here.